Hey folks, Rob here bringing you another unboxing. This is going to be another Mark Simonitch product, France 40. Just got into my face-to-face opponent Dave's hands. He gave it to me to unbox, still in the shrink wrap. This is the second edition printed in 2024. So let's break it open into the components and we'll see what's what. Alright, so here we go. This is the box. Let's take a look at the back. So this, as I said, is a second edition, and it looks like we have two map pieces. I don't know how big they are. We'll look at those separately, but this actually includes two scenarios. So there's the Guderian's drive to the Channel in May 40, and then there's the British withdrawal to Dunkirk in later May. And I guess with second edition, they now have two map scenarios, which may combine the two into one larger game, and including, of course, new units, improved orders of battle, etc. Complexity and solitaire are both 5s, which I think is pretty standard for his games. Again, Mark Simonitch, in case I didn't mention that. Looks like we get two paper maps, two counter sheets, the one rule booklet, again, second edition, so it's been updated, and one playbook, as well as setup and reinforcement cards, a couple of CRTs, and two 6-sided dice. Awesome cover of a French tank. Very nice. Alright, so pretty standard in most of these. We have little baggies for the units. Of course, our two different colored dice. And then the actual guts of the box itself. Alright, so let's look at the rules of play first. These should be typical of the ones that you've already seen me play in the Normandy 44 game. It should be roughly the same. There obviously is going to be uniqueness because of the battles that are going to be depicted. And we can see already that in contrast to Normandy 44, the counters have changed, which again reflects the more updated rules that Mark Simonitch is coming up with. These ones have stacking points to the right of the NATO symbol, where it used to be troop quality. Sequence and play, again, we start with the Germans, so initial phase, movement, combat, recovery, and supply. And then we flip to the Allied phase, which is exactly the same. It's just Allied instead of German. And then we have an end phase. Stacking limits have changed. Now we have 7 stacking points as opposed to the earlier Normandy 44 has 4, plus a couple of silhouettes. So I assume anything with a stacking of 0, like headquarters and strong points, you could probably multi-stack them to a point. This would like to be the exact same Zoc bond diagram in the earlier versions. I don't think that's changed much. Here we have movement. Combat. So we have multi-hex combat capable, so that's like before. Oh, I've done this attack a couple times in Normandy. I don't think that's legal. They should be adjacent. They cannot be on opposite ends of the unit being attacked if you want to use them to augment your attack strength. Determined defense, I guess it is seems to be the same. We have more modifiers to worry about, including whether or not a TQ is elite or low. So rather than give them a troop quality a number, it looks like they just lumped them into elite, low, and probably normal, I assume. Retreats and advance after combat, breakthroughs. Always nice to have those. Here we have a lot of the Maginot Line information on fortifications. Supply and isolation attrition seems to be the same as in the Normandy. And again, we have more modifiers based on troop quality and such. All right, so then we get into common rules for the two scenarios, as well as the first one, which is sickle cut. And 10 turns, starts on May 13th, ends May 22nd. And then there was at some point in the battle where Rundstedt decided to halt the advance when they could have captured the British and the French at Dunkirk, but they ended up getting away instead. And then we get into Dynamo scenario, which is going to be the actual British withdrawal to Dunkirk. So we'll have British, French, and Belgian forces and versus the Germans. There you go, index on the back. 24 pages. So again, for such a small, relatively small rule book, to have 24 pages is quite good. So this is going to be the playbook for the actual scenarios. Again, this will give some nice examples. So if you've never done it, which I'm probably going to be using this, it'll help you walk through the first turns, maybe a couple phases. Very handy addition notes on what Mark, some of the decisions that he made, and then of course we have this updated second edition. I always like looking at these maps. They get to be really busy, but when you actually see original operational maps, it's I actually enjoy those. Given my background as a map maker, yeah, I like to see these historical maps. Wow, quite a few. And a combined game. So 23 turns, uses both maps. There is a 10 hex overlap. That'll be quite interesting. And some combined game design notes at the end. Very nice. Correct. Right, then we have two reinforcement cards. One's for the Allies for the scenario sickle cut. On the back is Dynamo. Again, the two different scenarios. And the same with the Germans. Here we have two of the CRTs, which again are going to have all your information, including the expanded sequence of play, various other tables, and then the obligatory terrain chart on the back. So you can see the differences on the table, again, based on the earlier Normandy 44. We have a relatively simple CRT, but now we have more color-coded options. All right, so we have two counter sheets. Again, registration seems to be quite good. They're nice and thick, and they're all 5/8 size. Nice mixture of different units. Here we have the French and more Germans. Again, checking the registration and the die cutting. All right, so here we're looking at both maps. We can see the Dynamo one up at the top, and then of course you got the sickle cut down at the bottom. Now they do overlap for that one game. It's about 10 hex overlap using Cambrai as a gauge here. So that's basically what you're looking at if you have two maps. It's about a 3 foot by 3 foot map. Should fit on most decent sized game tables, I would think. Let's zoom in to the Dynamo map. Check out some of the terrain. Nice clean maps. There's the Dunkirk beachhead. And looking at the sickle cut map. Now, one of the things that was difficult to tell with the Normandy map 44 was when you looking at towns and cities, what the difference was. Here it's more obvious. You've got the complete hex colored in versus the small little dots, which would be your small little towns. So the different terrain is more, it's more obvious what you're looking at, and not so much. So let's look at the thing for comparison. We can see the difference here with Con. You can see it's got the blue tint underneath the buildings, whereas a normal town is just a cluster of buildings. So it's much more obvious in France 40 that it is a city. There's Dunkirk, Calais. And again, you're going to have a lot of marshy swamp up around Ghent and up in the north towards Belgium and Holland. And then we have Sickle Cut, which is the earlier effort in May when the Germans are pushing the French back, even to the point where I believe these are Maginot Line counters. Again, I'm not quite sure, but looks to be like they can be in play somewhat. And there we have France 40, another awesome looking Mark Simonitch design. David's going to give this one a run through while I finish off Normandy. Then I got to do Salerno, and then probably in the next couple weeks I'll be getting Holland 44, which is Operation Market Guard. And somewhere in there I'm going to fit in France 40 as we explore options other than ASL. Yeah, 2024, this is the reprint version, second edition. And a lot of changes compared to the earlier versions. So if you've only known first edition rules, the second one's just tweak stuff a little bit, counter layout, but I'm sure it's going to be quite easy to pick up. Again, you have a 24-page rule book, which is not that difficult at all when you're looking at something like Squad Leader with 800 plus. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think of France 40, if you've got it, if you want to play it, and your thoughts, and we'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.